Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name's Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is quite
then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
And that's the magic we do here. When we went to the intro, Chris was not here, and we just spiced up the show. So welcome everybody to the program. We have with us from, like I've titled this show, ParaAmera Takeover. We have Craig and Courtney, father-daughter paranormal research team, podcasters. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So,
and we got some feedback there, so I just take care of that there. How did you two decide on? Because I haven't really, as I'm fairly new to talking with you guys. So how did this happen? I mean, is it basically just been the two of you that have been involved in this, or is this more of a family affair where you have more of the family members? I'm going to try this again. Where more of the family members are involved than just you two, or is it basically you two do most of the work?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's just me and my dad, and it's actually kind of funny how it started. Was because I've always had like an interest in paranormal and just kind of odd things in general, and I usually kind of just kept quiet about it because my mom is like a person who doesn't like this at all. She's like, stay away from it. So I actually talked to my dad about it one time when I heard him like listening to one of like the shows I listened to on YouTube. I was like, I didn't know you liked this. And so we just naturally just started talking about the paranormal.
Yep. And
nice.
We, so I've been around it my entire life. I moved to Indiana 20 plus years ago now. And when I did, I kind of left that where I was. My mom is into the paranormal investigator. My whole family is all into that. And I decided that growing up that way, I did not want my kids to grow up. And my wife was not a big fan of anything like that anyways.
Yeah.
So as Courtney got older and she was asking more questions, or when she would talk to my mom, my mom would be like, oh, there's probably a presence there, or a ghost. And I'd be like, you can't be talking to my kids about that stuff. No, there's no such thing. We're not going down that road. I'm not going down the road with that. But Courtney just would be more and more and more into it. And so I was like, well, if she's going to do it, then we need to control how we go into this and what we're going to do. And if you're going to go out and do an investigation, what are you looking for versus what TV looks like, et cetera. And so that's kind of how we pulled her in. My mom, is always very excited and very happy that she's in it. Now my son wants nothing to do with it, and I certainly don't blame him. But I
mean, Claire's afraid of it, so
yeah. Well, she's
Claire's like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah, she wants.
Well, I mean, that's a good reason to stay away if you're afraid.
Yeah,
it's not going to help you.
No.
I'm kind of, that's funny you said that, because I've thought about that too. We've had a couple of guests on before, and we kind of mentioned it where I think as adults, we project a lot of stuff onto the kids, like you said, Dad, I see this. No, you don't.
Right.
Just stop, stop. You don't see something
No.
crawling on the walls. Stop. Where I think if more of us embraced it, actually took the time to listen, I believe, especially a lot of the younger kids, what they're saying, they see something.
Mhm.
It may not be the evil molten face monster that they see. It's just they're trying to describe something. Because Chase called my son. He called it a living nightmare. We were out camping and he wanted to crawl in bed, and I'm like, just go back to bed. He's like, no, there's like this black creature up there, with this evil face, and it's like I'm having a living nightmare.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, I wish I had not just told him, like, I wish I'd spent a little more time. All right, describe it. What did you see? Because now you ask him, and he's like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so much lost notes I could add. It's like, oh well.
Well, and it's a tough call too, right? Because you have young kids, and you can only control so much of what they're seeing in their environment, right? So much what they're seeing on TV, on YouTube, or wherever it may be. But they're going to school and everything, and there's scary movies. So you get to that point where if you tell them it's you're not really seeing that, or that they are seeing that, but then their only connection to something that they're seeing is, Freddy Krueger. We're already going downhill, right? Like we're going in the wrong direction. They're freaking out. They're not sleeping in the room. Where, like with my son Chase, he which I think is funny because we're both Craig and we both are Chase.
I know it's weird that it's like our wives aren't the same, and I don't have a daughter Courtney. So I said, but it's diverted right there.
Yeah,
but we're both kind of the
yeah.
Hey, at least it's diverted somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. Oh.
But like he said that there was somebody coming to his bed at night. He didn't like sleeping in his room at first, but when he first started in there, but then he said somebody was coming to his bed at night and laying down with him, because we'd be like, great job, buddy, you stayed in there all night. He's like, yeah, this man with no face came and laid down next to me. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I'm like, so no face, nothing? Like he's like, no. And he was very casual about it because he didn't understand what he was seeing or anything like that, and I wasn't going to make it awkward like for anybody. But when he left the room, I'm like, all right, well, good. I'm glad the man with no face was there and he was nice to you and he watched out for you and everything. But he left the room. I'm like, Jesus.
Courtney, get the gear.
Yeah. Start bless. Yeah.
The power of Christ compels you.
Right.
Get out. Please get out.
But we always say in our family, my going back to my great grandfather, that there's this man with no face who's always been around our family, who's always there to when we're scared or something's wrong, he just appears. And everybody in my family has said they've seen this man with no face. And Chase would never have known that story. He still doesn't know it, but unless he watches this. But like he described it the same way my grandfather did, my mom did, my wife, I think even you.
I've seen it, yeah.
So guardian angel.
When I was
something
like family guardian,
younger than Claire.
And so we don't know what it is or who it is or anything like that, but whatever it may be, it's not there to harm us or anything, clearly, because it's only there when it needs to be there. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Which would make, like I said, however you want to phrase it, the family guardian, the guardian angel, which is, there's a lot of different, it goes through there, but it seems like that would be spirit guide, something that's in a time of need.
Yeah.
That's like, there.
Yeah. And like, you're going to be all right. Or you're not alone, basically, that this is never, so, we tried to, again, we always pushed it away a bit, especially with the kids and everything like that. But as she got older, she wanted to learn more about it. And so I started with watching basically videos. We'd go to ghost shows. I mean, and there's some cheesy ones out there on YouTube or whether on TV. And I'm like, no, that's not real. now. And then
Yeah.
I'd explain to her, do you hear, listen to what they're saying, listen to the noises. And then we had opportunities last year, was it last year, to go out and start investigating. And, you know, I wanted her to understand, like, you know, we can make a lot of this happen, you know, so we have to make sure that whatever we're hearing or seeing, is it our mind, or is it, is it just the environment, or is it something else? Right. So, do you want to tell them about going to the
asylum?
Yeah.
So
Tell them about what the asylum is first. That it was in a crazy place.
So yeah, back down in southern Indiana, we went to this abandoned asylum there, and we've heard so many like different stories. We watched people go in there and like claim to like hear a ghost, heard noises, door slamming, and all that. So we decided, go down and take a look. And so when we did, we actually saw, I think it was 2-3 groups of people there who were also doing paranormal investigations. And so there was this one group of all teenagers, and we had just gotten like to the back of the building, and we see them running inside the building going, "Oh my gosh, I heard a noise over here." And then they ran out the back door and into this field that was right behind the asylum. And I just kind of looked at them. I'm like, hold on. Hold on a moment. And we actually caught a group that was leaving as well. And one of them was a psychic. And she said that she heard felt a lot of energy in both the attic and the basement.
Right. And that's, we didn't witness or hear anything that they were.
No, we were just outside the house.
Right in front of them, but we didn't see this stuff. But, we were there with another group, and you're like, yeah, the door in this room just slammed. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's go look at that. And then I walk into the room, and the room has no windows. So when the wind blows, the door slams, right?
Yeah.
And so, we were trying to even talk with that, one of the groups, like, you really got to break this down a bit, like, you got to take a look at it. Like, why could the door close? This one's a big, obvious, there's no windows.
Yeah.
They're blown out. That's why the door is closing.
Well, and it's also cold out, which doesn't help. It's windy. It's fall.
Yeah. And so, we really do try to, like, not just go into a place, but like really, what are we seeing? And is it us, or is it the building, or is it really something there? So at this particular location, there's really nothing going on, in my humble opinion. But we do a lot of research, and that's the big thing. Like, people ask us to come out, and before I even go anywhere, I'm like, I need an address, everything about the property. And then I spend probably like 2 weeks just researching the land around it, what's gone on, what was there, who lived there before, whatever it may be, because I don't like going into a place and, get a gotcha or something like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And we find that, a lot of things can be, again, they can be explained away, but there's a couple of places where, like,
And if it is like a bit iffy, like some of the first things I ever look for is like old dolls or like, some spooky object that they just happen to have. I don't trust them. Like, if you have like an old puppet, like with some strings hanging on a shelf, I'm like, first of all,
that's crazy.
Where'd you get that? It's just
I don't know what.
I
can't remember what show it was, but I just watched it on TV, and it's they went into this house and they opened up this closet, and it's nothing but dolls on all these shelves. I'm one of those. I open up the door. Nope.
No.
Right.
Burn the whole place down. Go.
And that's, and that's how we are, especially like me. Like, if I go into a place, or like somebody calls me and they show me the room or wherever it is, I'm like, there's 3 creepy dolls in the room. First and foremost, take them out of the house. I don't know if they're doing anything, but clearly
Get him out of there just because.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens after 2-3 weeks of them not being in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want a good visual of what I do. It's that Geico commercial when it goes up in the attic and they see all the creepy mannequins that are staged around the table, and he's like, nope. And just turns around, walks away. I'm like, yeah, that's
one
me.
thing that will make like almost any paranormal investigator just go, getting out of here. Everyone's heard the story about Annabelle. Like everyone's heard like at least one story about some haunted or possessed doll.
Robert the doll.
You don't touch them.
But they always seem to have one, right? Like every time you get a call or even on a ghost show, it doesn't matter which one you're watching. The person's like, I don't know why my house is so haunted. Like, why do you have these creepy dolls here? Every episode, like, do they, like get rid of the dolls? But see, that's a thing to me. Like, do these people watch these shows, see the creepy dolls?
Yeah.
Like,
in their mind,
they buy them, but then they end up like subconsciously, like creepy doll equals there's something in my room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Old rocking chairs. Like chairs will move on its own as well. That's another thing I've seen, like to be haunted. So I look for that. And there was actually one show that we were watching, and it was like an antique shop is what it was. And like the whole thing was filled with creepy dolls, old clocks, chairs, like a bunch of little children's toys. And I'm like, just burn the whole place down. Burn the whole thing. Light it on fire, salt the thing. I don't know. Do something with it. It needs to be gone.
Yeah, what can you do? What can you do for me? You hand him a nice little thing of Kingsford charcoal lighter, and
exactly.
Here you go.
Okay. So here's a gallon of gasoline, and I'm gonna hand you this lighter, and I want you to just set the thing on fire.
Yeah. Make it look like the insurance can claim it. Just
exactly. And like what the attic had, like it was infested with snakes.
Yeah, that was
the attics were infested. Like the attic was infested with snakes, and it was an antique shop with a bunch of creepy little items. I was like, just throw the whole place away.
I mean, I don't want you to because I don't want to affect their business, but at the same time, I want to know what antique store this is to avoid, because I'm just like going to an antique store. It's like, does anybody hear hissing?
Yeah, right. Is it haunted or do you have snakes? Right? Like,
I hear this rattle all the time. I can't figure out what it is.
Yeah, their bedroom is like up next to the attic as well. Like there was this, they had this door in the corner, right? And their bed was right next to that door. I'm like, first of all, you put your bed next to the door to the attic. Where was your headspace at when you did that? First of all, and two, I understand that most people are afraid of the attic, and these people, didn't like going in their attic. I'm like, I wonder why. You put your bed right next to the attic door. There's a wind, door's just gonna, fly open.
And
a whole lot of nope.
As you can see, so we're probably not your average ghost hunters, paranormal people, because we're sitting here saying, burn it down.
Burn it down. Light it on fire.
You probably have most people come on here saying, hey, we should, do some incense or something. And we do tell people you can do that too. But creepy dolls and such, especially with Courtney, she's already determined what half the problem is.
Yeah, there's not enough sage for that place.
It's like just as like a just in case this is the problem, I think we should get rid of it.
Yeah.
Or if it becomes a problem, it's already gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of what you're talking about a little earlier too. Is healthy skepticism is what you need. Absolutely. You can go too far. You can go too far to where it's just like no, and you rob yourself of actually encountering something that was there because you just refuse to look. I mean, it might as well just blindfold yourself and go around because you refuse to look at stuff. But then there's the far extreme too, where like you said, every little thing that falls, I found a ghost. It's a ghost. It's a ghost. It's a demon. I'm haunted. And you're like, no, you have a vent, AC vent right above you, and you've got all these loose papers, and it's not a ghost going through your paperwork.
Right.
Have you noticed? It's like, just wait for it. Hear the AC kick on? Yeah, this is when the ghost usually appears. I know.
Are you got EV on the voice recorder this close to your ear? Like, do you hear that? It said something. No, it didn't say nothing. That's static that you're making.
Yeah.
Static could be your breathing. You
And-
breathe too hard.
And we had that happen just yesterday. I went to someone's house where they had an item that was just kept swinging for absolutely no reason, and it would, stuff was moving on this one area. But the way it's a wall, but it's all wood, and it's just 7 boards, and so I'm touching the boards, and the 5th board up, far enough away from the items that are moving, but it's like 4 boards up, it's vibrating. This board is vibrating, but you touch this board, it's not. The other boards are not vibrating. So this one's got a hum to it. And what it was is that they have something hanging on a hook, and it's just the perfect little hook where it with just the tiniest of vibration, it would make this thing move.
Oh, wow.
When the vent goes on 2 floors above them, it rattles this beam that's coming down, which shakes this board, and the
which makes
board
that move.
makes this move 4 down from it. It's nothing's there, but up front they were like, no, that can't be it. And I'm like, promise you, that's what it is. Believe me, if there was something here, I'd be the first one, grab the cameras. But
Yeah.
There's nothing here. And so we waited, and I'm like, now feel the board, and any minute now. And
it's gonna start.
Yep. And I'm like, huh.
But that's what you need, because we teased it. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit prior to the show. Just whereas, when you just outright just say everything is a paranormal experience, you lump yourself in, and people look at it, just they go, it's not. I go, you have to debunk, you have to get, go through and figure it out, because I'm going to butcher the saying, but it's like when you go through and you go do an audit of everything, what's left that you can't explain and is set aside now becomes so much greater, so much of an interesting thing you have, because you took your time. You took your time to look up lights. So look, like you said, feel a wall, and like, feel that vibration. But if you did all that and you still haven't found anything, and that picture is moving, at that point, that's when you feel the hair starting to on the back of your neck, because you're like, this is something real. This is cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and then at that point, it becomes, well, is everything you're here and see, is that what did you hear that? Did you feel that? And so you have, we try to teach her, especially Courtney, like, we go in just assuming that whatever it is, it's not, right? Like, it's it's got to be something, physically here that we can see, touch, feel, that's causing the issue. And if we get to the point where, it isn't, then we will go further, right? Then we bring in, a recorder, and we'll do an EVP, we'll check stuff. But, I feel bad sometimes because people ask us to look at something, and I'm like, dude, you have a sewer running right under your house. That hollow noise, that bang, that's all it is. I promise you, if there was something there, I would want to put it on YouTube. I would get paid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's something in it for me, but it's not there. So, go to sleep and feel comfortable that nothing's there.
I feel like, that should put some people to rest, being like, oh, thank goodness there's nothing in my house. And then there's the other people who are like, come on, this has to be something. And then I'm like, well, I guess you can just sleep knowing that you have a poltergeist living in your head.
Right. And they go to other people at that point. Usually they'll
they'll be determined enough to find an answer from someone else. So, they'll get the answer they want eventually.
And that's the sad part, right? Where we have this challenge where we're going out there. We know it's not that. And then you have people saying, oh, this is an opportunity. And there's nothing here. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy for the person who lives there. We're dealing with whatever they think it might be. And it's not healthy that somebody would, I don't know, try to take advantage, utilize that for their own, I don't know.
Selfish reasoning.
Yeah.
Trying to get
likes or
YouTube, YouTube clicks, just
YouTube, and oh no, my house is haunted. I've seen so many teenage people, or even kids fresh out of high school, do stuff like that. There was like this one channel that I used to watch. I forget what it was called, but it was a bunch of kids and they were in like this new house that they had just gotten. Apparently, I think it was like their parents' house. They may have been like moving out or something, and they were in like the upstairs room, and they decided, hey, let's mess one with a Ouija board, and two, let's play ghost games in the spooky closet.
Smart.
Yeah,
Very smart. And then they'll hear like bang noises, and I'm like, first of all, where'd your friend go? One of the friends leaves the frame, and you're like, where'd they go? And they come back like 5 minutes later after the banging stops.
Yeah. It's clearly the setup. It's like the creepy doll that suddenly appears in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, I'm going to point this out that I love how she always refers to them as high schoolers and teenagers when she's a high school teenager.
Yeah,
like these high school teenagers.
These people.
My peers. Yeah.
Everyone does that, but most things I see are usually more of like children trying to mess around and get likes, and I'm just kind of sitting here like, this is a popularity contest, is what it is.
And and I think you had so Joey Medea and his wife, they, I follow them actually not too long back just because they, I feel they do things more appropriately. I don't always 100% agree, but they're pretty methodical. They walk through it because I've reached out to them like, well, tell me how you got to this, right? Where did you come from? And while I probably would have gone that way or used a different method, I feel like at least they're going in kind of with that same mind frame of, we're not going to say that's what it is because we don't know, kind of a thing. Yep. And then we're going to go from there. So, but it's a fun life. I mean, for us, and it actually, we started this because, again, like she said, she was interested in it. COVID happened, lots of different things, and it was an opportunity for us to do something together because we don't have a lot in common. I really don't like her music, she definitely doesn't appreciate mine.
I appreciate most of yours. It's not all bad.
Yeah,
it's not all bad.
Yeah, you get some of that ones. It's like some of the humor like Chase, has, it's these memes that they do, and he's just like, oh, it's so funny. I'm like, no. I mean, we joke around. It's like our kids, that monkey doing the flip off the chair, to that sound, he just laughing, and I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's the different generations.
Yeah, it is. He finds it hilarious, and I'm like, I don't get it at all. I don't see where this, it just, and he's like, he's just him and his friends are just laughing at it, and I'm like, I'm just.
Has he ever said free Shavakadu?
I don't know if he has or not. I'm gonna have to.
That one?
Sounds familiar, but I forgot where it's from.
No,
I've never heard of it either.
Yeah, I'll ask him. I mean, he probably does.
What's it from?
He'll probably look at me like, how did you know that?
It's that's a Vine.
Oh, it's a Vine.
Yeah, it's a Vine. So
yeah, see, Craig, you're too old for that.
Vine used to be popular.
I know what a Vine is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna beat him with his headphones.
Even right before this, she was showing me something on her phone. Was it TikTok? And I'm like, how is this funny? How is this remotely interesting?
It is.
Or the guy that they think is going to shut down YouTube, and he just runs around with a clown mask on like that. I don't know what he is, but my son watches that, and he thinks it's so hilarious. I'm like, dude, it's fake.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing right now?
The dumber it is, the harder we laugh.
I know, and I just look at him, especially like when we were talking like the music. I look at her, I'm like, where did I fail you?
Right,
Van Halen, Aerosmith. I mean, I was just Boston. I mean, where did I go wrong? I held you in my arms when I got home late from work. We watched VH1 Metal Mania.
Right,
watching these videos, I go, when did you turn your back on the way, son? When did you turn your back on it?
It was when he met other high schoolers and who were even dumber.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, look at this.
Yeah, they like my son Chase just did the whole yeah, I love Fleetwood Mac. Like there's usually once a week where I just listen to Fleetwood Mac because no matter what kind of music you like Fleetwood Mac could just get you through a day, whatever. And my son, I'm like, yeah, you should hear this song. He's like, nah, it's all right. But some guy did a TikTok video or something, and one of the songs became popular. And my son's like, yeah, that Fleetwood Mac's pretty great. I'm like, when?
Yeah.
I said that. I'm like, we're,
Well, somebody came up with a meme, and I really love it. They said everybody's like, Taylor Swift always sings these songs about her breakups. I go, you want to know what a badass is? It was Fleetwood Mac. She made her ex play guitar as she sang songs about what an ass he was.
Exactly.
I'm like, that is not, I go, Taylor Swift's got nothing on, I go, yeah, it's when she's going through and making, him play the songs, as she's saying about what he
pride right in front of him. Why don't you?
Yep.
I mean, that's yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what we want to see. And that's what we try to teach them. But yeah, I was just baffled when he came to me. He's like, have you ever heard of Fleetwood Mac? They're a pretty good band. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about right now? Where are you?
I was at their concerts.
Yeah.
Now, I think one of the funniest things I've learned about my generation is when you ask someone what arachnophobia is. And some of them can't answer you.
It's funny.
Or they just think it's a movie.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, I love that. I love that movie. And I'm like,
so what is it? I don't know. Like, what was the movie about? Spiders? So what do you think arachnophobia is about? I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in I was in middle school, and I was doing like this project. We had to do a tally up. And so, we just had to be like, okay, come up with a question and then go around and ask people like a survey type of thing. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to, I don't know, I'll ask people what arachnophobia means because, I mean, we'll see. And so I went around and I asked maybe like almost half of my classes, and only a handful of people could tell me what arachnophobia was. And I was just dying from right there. I was like, oh man, these kids need to learn something.
Courtney will not be the poster child for her generation. They're clearly not going to want to use her.
No.
That's what it hurts. I mess with Craig all the time. Back in the day, it's like back in the day was 2 years ago for you. I'm like, I know, but still.
Yeah.
What hurts is like my girlfriend's brother, who's I think a freshman in high school now. I'm like, this meme is so funny. He's like, dude, that's like 2 days old. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm on my phone all day. But it's like, that meme is old. It's new to me. Okay.
Yeah. It's amazing how they view time or everything, especially like a meme that it becomes old fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Which we didn't know happened.
Yeah.
Because we had to wait till Friday at 8 p.m. to watch the show.
Yeah.
But
no, we'll go back in the old days. We're only we're 16, 15 years old.
Yeah. Back in the aught tens.
Back when I was a kid.
Well, and that's
great.
That's the thing. Like when we first started doing this, because she was like, okay, we're gonna need an EVB detector, this thing, that thing, this grid thing. I'm like, what are you talking about right now? And she's like, well, how did you do it? And I'm like, in the 90s. So back when I did it, I literally had a recorder and a flashlight. I literally would walk through cemeteries, with my recorder. Sometimes I was lucky and I had my camera. But
last camera.
Yeah. But and I would just sit there and record everything, and then I would have to sit there and play it back. And she's like, are you serious? And I'm like, that's what we had. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Nowadays, we just did our show.
Yeah.
We just did our other show in the middle, right at the 10 minutes we're going into this show. I already edited the previous show, threw it up online. Your videos, back in the day, it was record. Oh, damn it! Fast forward, record.
It's like a mixtape. I mean, it's you won't understand the whole. When we were growing up, if we wanted to hear our favorite song, there was no going online and finding it. We had to listen for the radio station because it would replay, and you'd be sitting here. You'd wait for him to come to commercial break, and you'd hear that first couple notes. You'd hit record on the tape cassette, and all of a sudden you just start recording it. And then as soon as it gets to the end, you have to stop it, and then you're
Stop it.
And it was almost like a victory when you got a perfect recording.
Perfect recording.
Yeah. Yeah,
We used to have. I used to watch VHS tapes when I was a kid.
Yes, you did.
Like I still remember that, but like if you ask Chase or Claire what a VHS tape is, they'll look at me like, "What
What's
language
that?
are you speaking?"
Yeah.
She's the end of that generation of VHS.
Yeah,
tapes.
my son, he was hilarious because 2 days ago he said, "Hey, you know what has a lot of memory on it? Those VHS tapes." And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, they got to be able to hold a terabyte of data because you stick it in there and it runs it. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, it's a tape. It's a tape. It's the movie. He's like, no, the movie's in the VCR. The VHS tape is is for memory and all that. And I'm like, what? Hey, like,
no.
Their idea, like he didn't understand that the movie, this was the VHS tape. That was the movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't storing all the movies inside the VCR.
Yeah.
You were
you're literally putting the
And my thing
we
is,
all-
like, if you talk to me like about a VHS tape, like I'll understand what you're talking about. The moment I walk into like Best Buy or something, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, you'll need at least a terabyte," and like what other words do they say?
Gigabytes and megabytes.
Like, fun computer words, and I'll be like,
teraflops.
what?
Yeah. Can I download music? Yes, that's all I want. Thank you.
Yep.
Like,
That's all I
like
know.
all my friends are like, oh, like you got to get this like cool new music app. I'm like, I have this one. It's free. It works. If it works, it works. That's my thing. Or like they'll be like, oh my gosh, I just got like the Samsung like 5X Pro, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, is that its full name?
Yeah.
You could just call it phone. I got it.
Mark just brought up, the Betamax. I don't even know, Courtney, if you even know what a Betamax is.
No.
I don't either.
That the reason that didn't take off, that was actually an incredibly superior to the VHS. But the problem is it was more expensive. And so the VHS was cheaper. And so that's why it took off. So everybody would do these. But if you actually have a Betamax cassette, it was the same way if you'd compare right now to a DVD to a Blu-ray.
Right.
That's what a Betamax was to a VHS. And it was
really watch either one of those either, because if we want to watch something, she goes to Netflix and a button,
like Netflix,
and it just magically runs.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though is
like skip the little middle half there. So I was like,
oh yeah,
if I stick the DVD into the little player box. Like this is how I describe things. I was just like, okay, there's the box. You put the DVD in the little case thing that comes out when you press the button. You push the button back, and it plays.
Yeah. So,
movie. Man,
magic.
But it's nice to be able to have all those magic tools that we have today. And but yeah, back when I started doing this, I mean, I had a flashlight in my recorder. Like, I'd just walk around for hours and I would talk into it. And, I'm doing this in the mean streets of like Whitehall, Pennsylvania, Allentown area. So, it's perfectly fine and safe and everything like that. But people look at you, right? Because this was not a popular thing to do.
No.
And,
no.
When I was doing it.
Especially when you were who you were in high school.
Yeah, it was probably a little dorky reading Tolkien and Game of Thrones before it was cool.
Yeah.
But, and people would ask me, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, supposedly some bad things happened here once. I'm just walking around seeing what I can catch. So, like, they would be like, wow.
Can I have some of your token?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Staying away from you.
Yeah.
Might smack your books in the hallway.
But,
yeah.
And, but now today, those same people who would like kind of mock me for that, they're like, did you see Ghost Nation last night? I'm telling you, that place is haunted. And I'm like, dude, the house down the street from you is haunted. I told you that like 30 years ago.
That's legit haunted. That's not.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, what would you say is the craziest place that you guys have been where it legit haunted? I mean, it's not, you've gone in and you're like, okay, yeah, this is, definitely there's something going on here.
Oh, where would you say that is?
I don't know. We've
like that old school in Brownsburg.
Yeah, I would say that could definitely.
There's this there's an old school. It's about I'd say it's about 10 miles from here. maybe a little further. But it was an original schoolhouse. Some weird things happened in the past there. I know from its history, a couple of kids died on the property and all that. But a story my grandmother had told me about was back in the 70s, they were redoing the brick and mortar outside. Somebody bought it for a house. And while they were doing it, something happened and they left. They left the scaffolding. They left all their stuff, everything. They
Really?
left. Yeah. And several days later, they came back with 5 guys and they started just removing everything. And the homeowner came out like, whoa, what's going on? They're like, can't do it. We were up here and all of a sudden we could hear somebody climbing it. And it sounded like little kids laughing. And they're like, we're out.
Nope.
And we're done, and they left,
Free tools.
Find someone else to do this. I'm not gonna sit here and deal with laughing children while I'm trying to build this wall.
So we did a couple walkarounds, everything like that, and I would say we caught like a giggle or a weird noise but it was creepy enough where I was like, that is sufficient for me to going off of everything to say, cross this place where I'd want to live,
It's like maybe not the best place, especially if children are involved.
Children are always the creepiest.
Like you've heard like little kids laugh before, like especially like when you have like one of those evil children. I term evil very loosely, like in a nice way, like, but that little kid who's just like, huh, and then just starts laughing for no reason, like those two of them.
Yeah, just randomly just ha, 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 ha. Watch out for that one.
I've seen kids stare at a corner before and they'll just go ha, 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 and just leave the room. It's like, you know what, you can sit there, I'll shut the door behind you too. Not gonna help that.
My 2 youngest kids, and that's the scary part.
Yeah. My youngest daughter, I was a big fan of the show Supernatural, like way before before it was cool. And my youngest, Claire, she was probably like 3 years old, and I used to fly in and out of Indianapolis every week to DC. And every Thursday night she would want to sit with me. So we would sit down and I would watch Supernatural. And again, she's 3 years old. She'd fall asleep. But this one episode, a scary creature jumps out at the gang and it goes to a commercial, right? And she looks right at me. She just turns her head totally at me. Like her eyes are wide as can be. And she's like, what was that? And me being funny, because I'm sarcastic, I go, that was the boogeyman. And she literally gets right up in my face. And I mean, we are eye to eye. And in a whisper voice goes, pop goes the weasel.
Oh, hell no.
And I'm like, I lean back. I'm like, you win. You win. I can't do that. No. And I literally just carried her right up to my wife. And I'm like, sorry.
Yep, all yours.
No, not doing
that. That's kind of a close story. It's like my son we had our best friend Todd. He was just messing with him, and he turns around and just dead faced, "I will make you disappear," and then just stopped, and we're like, "Whoa, that was just straight out of Godfather." It's just
kids who can go just one straight face and say something like, doesn't even have to be creepy. They could just be like backpack or something. But the moment they stop like being like their cheerful little selves and they go and just like dead face, nope, something's gonna happen. They're gonna say something and it's gonna freak everyone out. Nope.
Yeah.
Whole lot of nope there.
No, that was thing. It's just you had. I think he was 4 when he did that too. It was
3 and 4 seems to be really creepy. Right at the time where you don't know. I don't know if you're witnessing their real personality coming out, or is it a phase? But like Claire, I never turn my back on her now. I just not gonna find out the hard way.
And then I was sleepwalking that one time and I scared you.
Yeah.
So, sleepwalking as well is something that's a big nope when it comes to children.
But that's a good one you bring up too, because that's another thing people don't realize they do is sleepwalk, and they think their house is haunted, right? So they will literally think that somebody moved something in their kitchen, and they're not wrong. It just happened to be them, right? It wasn't something; it was someone, right? And I've probably seen that at least 5 times. Where
and like what we know that like
a sleepwalker.
Sleepwalkers like have the capability to like open up their own front doors of like its locks and all that, and just walk outside.
How crazy is that though? I mean, when you think about that sleepwalking, it's just because I'm thinking about it, it's like I don't do that, but it's one of those. How do I know I don't do that? I mean, is it the same thing? I mean, for all I know, I'm going down there, it's just like yelling at Chase for eating all the ice cream, and it's me, 2 a.m. just sound asleep. I'm so hungry.
Like, I will never forget.
I can't lose this last 10 pounds. I don't know why.
I know. What's going on?
So my little sister, I've heard her sing in her sleep, and it's similar to the Pop Goes the Weasel, right? So she's 10 right now. And her room is directly next to mine. So like the very thin wall there, so I can hear her talking. She has friends over, whatever. And so it was probably like 4 a.m, and I go up to use the bathroom, which is kind of like on like the corner of her room. And I'm going out. I open my door and I'm like sleeping. I'm like, what's that noise? And I look over at my little sister and I kind of like just peer into her room since it's right there. Her eyes are wide open and she's going, and I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
After bed.
Yeah, it's one of those, wives trying to figure out why you two want nothing to do with your sister and your daughter. It's just like, no, it's what time is it? It's 10 o'clock. After 10 o'clock, she's all yours.
Yep. That's usually what happens. So, but as you can see, we're kind of a lighthearted group.
If you guys had anything crazy like besides obviously the pop, what gets crazier than the kid doing Pop Goes the Weasel to you, in your own home, because. Like, kind of give you an example. Like for me, it's happened twice now. This is a brand new house, but one was a few months ago. I'm laying in bed, and I look over it. The only way I can describe it is the alien scene from Communion. I see this thing just go behind the wall. I'm like, somebody's in the house. I fly out of bed. I tear in there. The alarm's set. All the doors are locked. And the doors are shut except for Chase's room. So there's no way they made it down the stairs. Because, I mean, we're talking 10 seconds time. So I'm right on I'm heading down the stairs. There's nothing there. It's completely shut. But I told my wife, I go, there was something there. There was something physically there. Because I saw, it's one of those, it wasn't a shadow. It was just, as soon as I looked, you could just see it. It's just like that thing. It just pulls away from the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I've had it happen twice. And so, and it's one of those, I can't explain it, but it's just, I look around, I do all the things. I'm like, listen, I don't hear any movement. There's nothing it could be, nowhere. If somebody was in there, they could be hiding. And it's just because I'm like that on trying to figure out where it's at.
So is it, and it's going through a wall basically, and it's super.
No,
quick.
It's behind the wall. It's basically like, if this is the wall, it's right here. And then just boom, it's gone. So it's just like that Communion scene where it peers out from behind the bookcase.
Right.
And he sits up and then it goes back. And that's the thing. And that's what happened. And then it flash instantly gone. And I mean, I'm out of bed instantly.
And see, this is where I get into that idea of, and I've brought it up to a couple of different people who've done those ghost hunting shows, was there, when we think it's something, but it ends up actually being us. And I don't know, so like in some kind of weird time loop of some sort, where at some point you did it or going to, and it's just you, and that veil for whatever reason is just cleared out.
That could be, yeah.
I mean, we've had where, who was that from the Ghost Hunter show? Which one?
It
was Marcin. Yeah, I'll think of his name. She'll think of his name. Daryl. When we did a interview with him, because on one of their shows they went to Alaska, and he goes out of this room, and when he goes out, he jumps back and he felt like something was coming right at him, and it said something. And I told him that the way the encounter occurred and what he heard, it made it seem like it was probably him doing it, like some kind of flip. And he's like, it's funny you said that, because they were doing an EVP, but it didn't make the show. And during that, in the EVP or in his recording, he said that about 15 seconds before he says it's cold in here, they catch him saying it's cold in here before he even said it. 15 seconds before he even said it. And he's like, it was the weirdest thing. I never had it happen.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's to me is, we really don't understand the universe, the multiverse, how all this stuff works. I mean, antimatter was a fake thing back in the 1960s, but today it's real, right? Like now we're saying, they're the antiverse, wherever it may be. So we keep learning all these new things. And, I sometimes wonder, like, if it's not doing anything and it's going away quickly, is it just you doing it? We'll see those people are like, oh, the creaks in the stairs are going off at always this exact time. Well, someone stepped on that stair a long time ago at some point, and it made a ripple of some kind of time. I mean,
it could be like a time loop almost.
Right. So, I mean, it's one of those weird things, but everybody, I always say, has it happen to them. Because you've never met anybody who wasn't in a room 5 rooms or 3 rooms away and swear they heard their mom calling them, right? We've all had it happen. We come out like, you called me? And they're like, no. But then like 3 days later, your mom's like busting into your room, like, I called you 4 times, like, but you didn't hear it, right?
Yeah.
That's the best example I can give of what happened. Like, it did happen. It just didn't happen in the right order or some weird thing.
Did you guys see that question from Michelle?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Did anyone pass recently? My grandmother popped around the corner like 3 times to me after she passed away.
She's talking to you.
Oh, yeah. She's saying that for you. So,
for me.
Then,
no, not recently, because I would say it's been a while. I mean, grandfather, was years ago, and that was probably the closest thing to that. But for me, no, I mean, it wouldn't be anything. It's just, and Joey had asked me, it's like, did you feel, it's like, I didn't feel negative, but it didn't feel like welcoming. It was
not feel welcome. Well, there's a difference. So I'm sure it didn't feel negative, but did it feel threatening because you thought somebody was in your house?
Yes.
Right. Or did it feel like, did you actually have a physical feeling of there's something here that's trying to hurt me? Kind of a thing. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was like, felt like it's, as you look back into it, it was that instant. I mean, that's why I use the scene from Communion, the best one. Courtney, have you watched that movie, by the way? You have to.
No.
If you haven't. Oh, you got to watch Communion. Anyway, so that scene, but it's the same one, because his reaction where it's just like he sits up, and because he sees it, that's the same thing. And just that natural instinct of there's somebody in my house, and boom, I'm out of bed. Like I said, I didn't feel that, you had that adrenaline rush from that thing, but I never felt like I was in danger. I never felt frightened. It was more like, what the hell was that?
Right.
And I'm and so that's it's just a weird experience.
Yeah. And that's why, so to me, that's probably more of what it may have been. The only other thing typically would be like, if it's happened more than once, I don't know, but like a gypsy ghost. And I always see gypsy ghosts are these beings that just kind of flow with the wind, they're just wandering around out there, and they pop in, they pop out, they go to the next place, kind of a thing.
It's like, hello, nice to meet you, goodbye.
But it's pretty darn quick.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't happen anymore, right? Like so I just call them gypsy ghosts. They're hanging out for a minute and they're on their way. But why they do it,
Who knows?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, but there is a lot of strange things out there. But I always say, like, how much of it can be explained or will be explained eventually by the fact that it could very, very well be some kind of split, right? And there's a tear somewhere, the veil is thin, and it pops through, or we pop through. Like I can't, I often wonder, like, did the voice I hear, was that my voice? Like, I got to go back through my head here, like, or someone I knew, a different day or time.
Right.
So
now, I actually had an experience in this house.
Right.
And so I was actually sitting in the other room right across from here, and I was on my phone, and I get the feeling that something's like watching me. And I'm like, oh, I guess probably like one of my siblings just like came into the room or something, right?
Sister.
And so I look up from my phone, and right in front of the window, it's it's nighttime, moon's out, like the moon is like right behind like the windows, like you have the moonlight shining in. There's this person standing right in front of the window looking at me. But the thing is, like, I thought it looked like a shadow person is what it did, but it was 3-dimensional, which caught me off guard. So I thought it was an actual person. And so I, thinking it was my brother, I said, Chase, what are you doing? And, this time I'm just like fully looking at it. I have all my attention, and I see the thing sprint towards me and duck underneath this table that's sitting right in front of me. And so, I figured it was my brother. So I get up and I start looking for it. And I'm like, there's no one in this room with me right now. Because I didn't hear the thud to the ground. Like, it would have made some sort of noise when it walked. And I'm like, there was no noise. And so, I'm like, okay, maybe he rolled out was just really stealthy or something. I don't know. I didn't think he was, but maybe he is. And so, I get up. My brother's asleep upstairs in his room. My little sister and my mom are watching a movie, and my dad is sitting in the living room watching TV, and he hasn't moved. And, it was taller than me, so I'm like, okay, well, this can't be me from, like, a different timeline, because I'm not that tall. Because it took up most of the window. And I was like, oh, lovely. Like, I wasn't scared or anything, because I legit thought it was one of my family members, and I was like, never mind.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's those are the kind of stories that are really cool.
It's not even the first time I'd seen that thing. That was the first time I saw it. And the second time I saw it, I was in my mom and dad's room, and I was waiting for my mom to get out of, she was like tucking in my little sister in her bed. And I was just waiting for her, to come back out so that I could go talk to her out in the hallway. And in her bathroom, like the lights were off and everything. I was just kind of staring at it. I'm like, I get the feeling something's in your bathroom. And as soon as I say that, this thing runs out of the bathroom and turns the hallway. I'm like, oh, heck no. And so I get up and I'm peeking out the door and I'm watching where this thing is going. And it goes straight into my little sister's bedroom. I'm like,
don't tell your sister
that. I haven't.
Yeah.
I won't.
He said, don't tell your sister that.
Yeah, make sure she doesn't watch the 57th minute of the show.
Yeah.
And another thing is she has like a bunch of stuffed animals, right? And like they kind of creep me out sometimes because like some of them have like the little glass eyes, and I'm like, I don't like it.
And when we say she has a few stuffed animals, she's got
like her whole room is just stuffed animals. Like they're everywhere.
Yeah, she sleeps a different one every night. They all get attention.
Yeah.
But
and I'm not a big fan. After that happened, I'm kind of like, I don't like your room all too much.
Oh no, I know.
Like every time I go in there, I'm like, I'm not sure if it's just because I've seen like that thing run in here, as well as all the creepy stuffed animals you have in here. Like, I don't know whether it's that, but I don't like the vibe in this room.
Maybe it lives in one of the stuffed animals.
I don't know.
And I'm not opposed to getting rid of them. Trust me. Yeah.
So, Dad, what are you doing? Haunted. Gotta go.
But that's my favorite bear. Haunted.
And
gotta go to.
The worst thing that she owns is Furby. She has one of those.
Furby? She's got a Furby?
I'm so creeped out by Furbies. Like, she has seen me. I was in the basement and I sat on the couch and the thing was underneath the couch cushion. And so I sat on something, and I'm like, ow, what is this? And, I pull it out, and I see, like, this pink fuzzy thing, right? And I didn't think much of it at first. And I turned it around. I see, the face of, like, the Furby.
Furby.
I freaked out about, like, I can't stand Furbies. And she sees me just yell and toss the thing.
Yeah.
And she thinks it's hilarious. I'm like, Claire, one day that thing's going to go missing.
Yeah. No, that's
like
what
I
it's
said,
like.
When Craig said, "Hey, do you want to be on here?" I'm like, "You sure you want us?"
Oh yeah, no, that's what we want. It's just because it's crazy. Anybody that's had a Furby, those things will go off randomly.
I know. And
it's
and I swear, whoever programmed them was like, you know what we should do? We should set these things up so that it will freak people out in the middle of the night. You just have to randomly go off. And we are going to put right on the box, these are motion censored so that they know something was there, or they think something was right there. Like,
I know.
Like, let's make these just screw with people.
And I'm sure because if I was a tech guy and I could do that, I promise you I would. I mean, if I need the Furby, I promise you your house isn't haunted. Kind of a thing. You just
are those? So, like, some of my friends are in this, like, I don't even know. It's like a child development class, right? And so they have to carry these lifelike looking baby dolls in these little baskets. And, they have to carry them, bring them home. And
is that home ec?
My friend about it, because, I never took one of those classes. I wouldn't know. And she was like, do you know that these things will go off all hours of the night and you physically have to toss the child around to play with it? I'm like, right out the window. I'm like, my sleep is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those classes. Yeah, it actually has to be motioned. You actually have to, treat it just like it would a regular kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's that whole part of where, like, I was like, you're not bringing that in my house because, because if you know anything about Annabelle, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it comes down to dolls. They are never a good idea.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Annabelle? So,
yep. I've never physically. I know which one you're talking about. I've never actually phically seen it.
Yeah,
it's the Raggedy Ann doll.
It's a Raggedy Ann doll. It's creepy.
Yep.
I have never been a fan since I was 15. The moment I saw it the first time, I was like, well, that thing, those should all be burnt. But they are definitely the doll itself is creepy, but I mean,
Robert the doll is the one that it freaks me out.
The what does?
Robert the doll.
Robert. Pull it up.
Oh yeah. There's another one.
Oh
yeah.
No, I've never seen Robert.
Robert's the one people actually send apology letters to lift the problems that they face after they've disrespected Robert the doll.
I've never seen that one.
And then there's Letta as well.
Letta?
Yeah.
That's that what is that?
It's like I think they called it a gypsy doll, but I'm not 100% on that.
I'm trying to think of, is that the one from with like the dark black hair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So the hair was made from real human hair, one.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, the story is that like the son died, and like to be closer to the son, they put like actual hair in the doll. And apparently the inside of like the doll's like face looks like a human brain.
Fuck.
And the reason the name of the doll is called Letta is because people can hear the doll say "Letta me out."
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
I'm good.
But when I talked to the Warrens back in like '97, they brought up Annabelle, and it's a weird story, and again, I don't know how accurate, but it's from them. But the reason why Annabelle is still locked up in that crate and not at the Vatican is because they don't have a way to get it out of here. No ship, no boat will take it, and they can't afford to put it on a ship or a plane. So
what the hell is that?
That's Letta.
No.
That's like one of the other curse possessed dolls. I'm like, already you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's just a lot of nope.
And so this is why, when people then go up and kiss these things, I'm like, I don't feel bad for you.
Nope.
Like you literally are coming here going, yeah, I'll try it.
Nah.
That doll alone to me would have said, if I bought it, I only bought it so I could run it over with my car. You know, like,
I bought it.
Oh
so I
yeah.
could-
First question you asked. So when did this all start? So I visited Let Up. Sorry, you have a good day. Just
Yeah.
leave. Nope.
yeah.
That's your fault. No, my mom wanted me to tell you guys a story. My dad passed away in 2010. I think it was that same week or a week after. It's been such a long time. We all had everybody there, my uncle, my aunt, everybody. We were all fighting. You know, you just lost a loved one pretty much. And my uncle was outside from Tampa back in the day. I can say that back in the day. Home phones to Tampa was long distance, apparently. So we had no long distance on our home phone. And then he was outside having a cigarette, and he's like, "Why are you guys calling me?" Like, what do you mean? You're getting a call from my house phone. All the house phones are on the hooks. So we're like, that's weird. Must be something weird, right? So then he went back outside, and then my dad's cell phone was calling him. The phone was in the drawer, batteries out. Not possible. Again, he was outside smoking a cigarette, and we were all fighting. My sister was having a bad time. She wanted to go leave. The door would not unlock. It was locked. It would not let him leave. My uncle was outside, couldn't get in. So it was all, we thought it was my dad, saying, you need to resolve these problems before you leave. And we did that stuff. And then what my mom was referring to is a couple weeks later, it's Christmas time. We didn't have any animals or anything. She was in the laundry room, and I was in the opposite room of the house in my bedroom. And we heard the same exact decibel sound of ornaments breaking. We searched the house. We searched our Christmas tree. Nothing. So we found out later from my uncle is that my dad, when he was younger, broke Christmas ornaments and broke the Christmas tree. So to this day, we don't know why he was making that sound for us, if it was even him, but it's still creepy that we both heard from opposite ends of the house the same exact decibel sound of ornaments breaking.
Right.
So weird.
Wow.
So I talked to a person about something similar to that and when they didn't understand why they made a particular sound, the noise they made, and why did they just make something they recognized? But the point of it was that they wanted more than the two people, right, to know about it, to understand what it was and who it was. So you guys having that conversation with your uncle forced him to then say, oh, well, that would be this. Yeah. And so now all three of you are now in the loop of what occurred. But I think that is pretty common, or not uncommon. I shouldn't say it's common, but it's not uncommon to hear like that kind of things. That there is a way to communicate, or I always say that there are fighters. Like I believe that there are, like me, I'm probably one of those fighters. I'm probably the last person. Like if I have an enemy, I'm the last person they want to die. Right. I'm gonna make it hard on them. But I believe there are those people who are fighters who are like, you know what, I just can't. I'm not going yet. Not until I've done what I really wanted to do. And where other people are like, I'm out. And maybe I'll come back and do something in the future. But I always feel like, those fighters, those are the ones that are like, they want you to know that one, they're okay. And that you have to, whatever was going on, whatever issues happened, have to be resolved. We got to move forward. You got to move forward because they're worried about you. That means they were probably a strong part of family. And so that's typically where I see that. Now I haven't ran into that personally, like with like clients saying, please come see us because this is happening. But they've I've had it where they've told me a similar situation where like these 5 things happened. We thought it was weird because Joey knew about this, but I didn't know about that, and it always like it's them letting you know. So I think that's totally important. In that respect. But I wanted to point out one thing because I was listening a little bit of your last podcast and a couple others. So it was the question of always about language. And to me, that is always there's 2 things, probably 3 that I always wonder about that we've been trying to work with other people to kind of figure out ourselves, like need some kind of consensus. But like does language play a factor? If you're trying to speak to something and it's not in their native language, I think that it's probably playing a factor. Unless they have actually transitioned to wherever, the other side, wherever that may be. But if they're here, they wouldn't even understand what you would be saying. So my assumption is always that language. And then the other one is, which I hope that we'll be able to maybe have some discussions on with a couple people here in the future, is where are the ghosts from the Trojan Wars? Mm-hmm. Where are they hiding? They got to be here. That was a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting, like where's that? There always seems to be a cutoff line of where we say, oh, this is where ghosts kind of begin, kind of a thing. Like,
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. Then I was just thinking, it's just, has anybody done a lot of like the research over in that area trying to get that information, especially like the Trojan Wars? Yeah, and that's that's one of those where that would be definitely the thing. It's just like people that are specifically doing that, because once again, you'd have to be able to speak the language,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
good.
No, but we would be able. We should be able to see something, hear something. Like even if we didn't understand it, we should be able to catch something. Like that's a lot of death, or whatever it may be. So I'm trying to discuss that with other people. Like, where are they? Where is this? Because it's an interesting.
Why did
question.
You choose a horse?
Yeah. Would you wanted a donkey? Because that would have made more sense. Like,
it's like, was camel too complicated?
Yeah. Was that harder? Yeah. But I mean, like those are like legit like things. Because biblically speaking, it's all over, right? Like when you look at the Bible, right? And you got demons, you got resurrections, you got all kinds of things. But then, like, no one's ever said, yeah, there I was. Walking down the street and a guy in late Roman garb, or Egyptian garb was just standing there staring at me and saying something in some weird language and had a little swordy thing in their hand. Like you never hear that, they don't give that description.
Yeah. Well, I bet you, like, if someone did say that, they'd be like, oh, well, you're seeing things. We're just going to throw you in prison. That's where you go, right? We'll throw you in prison.
That is a good point. I'm just trying. Yeah, I'd have to. I don't know if I have ever heard of ghost stories.
That could like play a factor as well. Like, your brother saw something like that too. Look where he is now.
Yeah, there's always that scare tactic, right? Yeah. Of you're crazy, which seems to be again less and less and less. But we just never hear of like, we've seen depictions of what ancient Egypt looked like. Old Rome, etc. But we never hear about people seeing this looks exactly like what I saw.
That's true. I can't think of. I recall ever hearing that. It's one. I don't know. I mean, is it something that they're not allowed to do in some of those areas too? Just like go around the pyramid, because you think go around the pyramids, that might be an awesome place to try. Yeah. To figure out what. There's there, and that would be something that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to look into that, because that's now you bring it. That's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be, and again, we know it's happening, we know it's real, but why? It almost seems like there's a cutoff point in my mind. Like there just seems to be there's a threshold.
Like there's this timeline of how long can you stay.
Or something, or did it just become so strange to them, so foreign that they don't even recognize anything,
that they just pass on, that they just move on after. Yeah. That's a good point too. I mean, maybe there is just a certain period of time that passes, and then it's kind of like time's up. You're out of if it's purgatory, whatever you want to call it. It's time to move on.
Yeah.
There's always that one person's like, I'm going to stay and see what happens.
Yeah.
There always has to be that one person who's like, I'm just going to stay and see what happens. I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
It's like
maybe they get bored.
They would. I agree. One place that because it's on our continent or the Mayans, right? Like, I don't know if you know anything about the Mayan temples and everything like that, but I mean, they thousands and thousands of sacrifices, right on these temples, and that's not for you guys. Actually, it's right across the Gulf, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
For me, it's a little further, but like that would be a very interesting place because we see a lot of people go out there and talk about the ruins, but we should be able, if that much happened there
should be paranormal activity.
There's got to be something going on, right? And it's a pyramid, right? And pyramids are a big part of, whether we like to say it or not, like the X-File area of what, why we have all of them, to begin with.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I can't think of a better place to end it right there. To be honest, it's like, wow, man, that's definitely, there's some food for thought.
Yeah. So something to think about. Maybe some of your listeners will have an idea and we can all,
see, anybody comes up with something like that, definitely. Because, but no, guys, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're delayed. We tried to get you guys on a few months ago, but there was unforeseen circumstances that have brought us to now. But like I usually say, the universe has its reasons.
Yep.
You're right. And I got to add one thing, Craig. We really got to feel special. His teen daughter came on, took time out of her very busy night to come talk to us. So we feel very special that you all came on.
Yes. Yeah. That is true.
Very busy.
I'm sure she could be doing something else tonight besides being on with the Beardos, but thank you for coming.
I can always think of something.
I promise you, as soon as we walk away, man, she's that phone. Yeah.
Yep. It's right there. Did you watch my show? Yep.
So
no, thanks. You keep, everybody go to on Facebook. You've got, let's see, I'm going to make sure I don't miss anything here. You've got your ParaAmera, page, at ParaAmera for the podcast. There's also a ParaAmera discussion group that you guys have as well. And are you guys just on Spreaker?
No, we're on actually every
podcast.
Yeah, it's really weird because we have people from Mongolia sending us messages.
Really?
And
can you rub that? Can you rub some of that luck off on it? We have yet to crack the Japan or China or any of that.
Yeah, China. We have people in China.
Just nothing. It's like right there. We've got Russia, Australia, Malaysia, Indonesia. It says, but nobody in that section. They're like, no, I don't like beards.
So I think they come on just to see what Courtney's going to say. To be honest, they're like, is she gonna where's she gonna go with this?
They don't say random things.
Yeah. So
that one's a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
So when can people catch your? When do you guys normally post an episode?
So we will start. We just actually finished 2 up, so we'll probably start posting next week. Next week, and it's my fault. I had a impromptu. I lost all my hearing. I blew out my eardrums, and I had to have ear surgery, and they literally cut my ear off to do it. So that's a crazy story. If you ever, it's like, well, I'll have to have you on. Like, so give you a proper time to where you can tell that whole story. That's not something that can easily be done in a minute. No, but if you want to see the picture of how far your ear can go out, just go to my Facebook page and you'll be amazed.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So, Craig, Courtney, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate, best of luck to you guys, obviously, in the thing, Craig, I talk with you all the time, on Messenger, so we'll keep in touch that way. But once again, Courtney, it's a pleasure meeting you. Thanks for coming on. And we'll definitely have to, down the road, we're going to have to do this again, get an update where things are going, how the show's going.
Yeah.
That way we can say thank you for finally helping us, get over that wall, that's, preventing us from breaking into the Asian market there. Cause I don't understand what's going on. We cannot get in that part of Asia. I don't understand, but oh well.
Yeah.
Dreams. We can all have dreams. Yeah. Get a teenager on the show.
Yeah, there you go. Get your son on. Just be like, hey son, come sit right here.
Yep.
I need a Godzilla. I gotta get a Godzilla back here.
Yep. All right. We hope you guys have a great night.
Yeah, you
Thank
too.
you.
Take care.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. This episode is brought to you by Nanny Cakes. Facebook 407 and give her a phone call 407-923-2898 in the Central Florida area. And mention us. You're going to save 15% on your cake order. Go to threebeardspodcast.com, patreon.com/threebeardspodcast. Become a beardo. Check us out on all the social medias. Like, subscribe. Appreciate that. I want to thank a couple of people. We just popped up. We got a couple new subscribers on YouTube, so appreciate that. We're rebroadcast on Patriot Radio on the Zeno Radio app every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Starting that back to back with the shows. So thanks to J&J Beard Company in New Jersey for being willing to do that for us. Go to jjbeardco.com and thank them for that as well. And everybody, appreciate you watching. We will see you next week. Good night.
Okay.